I hope, and I believe I have, raised my son to be very, very proud to be Cambodian.
We said, but it has to be with Maddox because this is going to be when he really gets, he goes back to Cambodia often, he knows what it is to be Cambodian. But he also is, because it's from the perspective of a child.
Maddox Jolie-Pitt is widely known as the first child adopted by Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. But many people do not know how much his life has changed over the years. From a young boy adopted from Cambodia.
When you were filming Tomb Raider in Cambodia, you waited until Maddox was ready.
He was amazing. He actually really impressed me.
To a young man stepping into education, film, and global experiences, his journey has surprised many fans. He grew up in the spotlight, but often stayed private. So what really shaped his transformation? How did he move from a quiet childhood into a life filled with responsibility? Maddox Jolie-Pitt's sudden transformation. Maddox Jolie-Pitt, the eldest adopted child of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, has a life story that reflects major changes, personal growth, and shifting family connections over the years. His journey began long before he became part of one of Hollywood's most well-known families. Born in Cambodia, he was first known as Rath Vibel. His early life started in difficult conditions, as he spent his infancy in an orphanage where he was cared for but had an uncertain future. In 2002, everything began to change when Angelina Jolie visited Cambodia while working as a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador. At that time, she was already known for her acting career, but she was also deeply involved in humanitarian work. During her visit, she went to several orphanages in the country. At first, she did not feel a strong emotional connection after meeting many children. However, she decided to visit one more orphanage in the city of Battambang, which would become a turning point in her life. At that final orphanage, she was introduced to a young boy who was sleeping when she arrived. The caregivers gently placed him into her arms. He remained asleep for a moment, and then he slowly opened his eyes. In that quiet moment, he smiled at her. Jolie later described the experience in an interview with ABC News, explaining that she immediately felt a strong emotional bond. She said that when he smiled, she felt overwhelmed and began to cry, realizing that he felt safe in her arms. That moment made her believe that he was meant to be part of her life. She also felt that her family had just begun in that instant. After this encounter, she decided to adopt him. His name was changed from Rath Vibel to Maddox Chivon Thornton Jolie. The name Maddox was chosen as a new first name, while Chivon reflected her interest in Cambodian culture and language. At that time, she was married to actor Billy Bob Thornton, and the child's full name included his surname as well. The adoption process was completed in 2002, marking the official beginning of Maddox's life as her son. However, family circumstances continued to change. After Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton separated, Jolie gained full custody of Maddox. As a result, the surname Thornton was removed from his legal name. From that point forward, he was known as Maddox Jolie. This change reflected the new structure of their family and Jolie's role as his sole legal parent. As Maddox grew older, his life continued to evolve in the public eye. He was later joined by other adopted and biological siblings as Angelina Jolie expanded her family over the years. Despite growing up in a high-profile environment,
When you know that your kids love each other and you see the way they all give each other notes, hug each other, take care of each other, support each other.
Maddox's upbringing was shaped by a mix of international travel, education, and exposure to different cultures due to his mother's humanitarian work and film career. In his teenage years, Maddox began to show interest in academics and international studies. He eventually pursued higher education in Seoul, South Korea, enrolling in university there. This step marked an important transition from childhood into adulthood, as he began to live more independently while still maintaining close ties with his family. Over time, his identity also continued to develop. While he is widely known as Maddox Jolie-Pitt in media references, his legal and personal identity reflects the changes that occurred throughout his life, especially the early adoption and family restructuring. However, The addition of Pitt came after Angelina Jolie's later marriage to Brad Pitt, even though Maddox's debut story began before that relationship. So, when was he adopted? What impact did it have in his life? Let's find out. Adoption of Maddox Jolie-Pitt. The young boy's life changed in a very important way in the year 2006. This moment came only a few months after the birth of Shiloh Jolie-Pitt, who was the first biological child of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Around this time, Brad Pitt made a major decision that would shape the family even more. He officially adopted both Maddox Jolie-Pitt and his sister Zahara Jolie-Pitt, making their family bond complete in a legal sense. During this period, Brad Pitt spoke openly about his feelings in an interview with Esquire magazine. In that interview, he shared how deeply he loved the children. He explained that in his heart, there was no difference between children born into the family and those who were adopted. He said that they were just as much a part of him as any biological child could be, and that he belonged to them just as much. His words showed strong emotion and a deep sense of connection. He made it clear that he could not imagine living his life without them, showing that love, rather than biology, was what truly defined their family. With the legal adoption completed, another important change took place. The young boy's name was officially changed, marking a new stage in his identity and his place within the family. He became known as Maddox Jolie-Pitt. This name carried both personal and cultural meaning. The name Maddox, which is often shortened to Mad, comes from the Welsh language and means fortunate. This meaning added a sense of hope and positivity to his identity. Alongside this, the name Siobhan, which has roots in the Khmer language, is connected to the idea of life. Together, these meanings gave his name a deeper significance, combining ideas of good fortune and life in a way that reflected his journey and his importance within the family. As he grew older, Maddox became known for having a childhood that was very different from that of most children. His early years were filled with travel, new experiences, and exposure to many different cultures around the world. From a young age, he had the chance to visit many countries, collecting a large number of passport stamps over time. These journeys were not just for leisure, but were part of his family's lifestyle, which often involved moving from one place to another. Whether it was going on family vacations, attending major movie premieres, taking part in film-related activities, or joining humanitarian trips, Maddox was often by his parents' side, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Both of his parents were widely known for their busy and international lifestyles, often traveling across different continents for work and personal causes. Instead of leaving their children behind during these trips, they chose to include them whenever possible. This allowed Maddox and his siblings to grow up seeing the world in a way that few children experience. This constant movement and exposure helped shape Maddox into someone who was familiar with different cultures, languages, and ways of life. He was able to observe how people lived in various parts of the world, gaining knowledge and understanding that went beyond what could be learned in a classroom. These experiences also gave him the chance to be part of important events and activities, from film productions to charity work, making his upbringing both active and meaningful. Even with such a busy and travel-filled life, there were times when the children had the option to stay at home. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt respected their children's choices and allowed them to decide whether they wanted to join a trip or remain behind.
Brad Pitt's relationships with his and Angelina Jolie's kids are still reportedly strained, according to a new report.
This balance helped ensure that, despite their unusual lifestyle, the children still had a sense of comfort and control over their own routines. This period of Maddox's life was marked by important changes, strong emotional connections, and a unique upbringing filled with travel and learning.
It's going to be different for different kids. Right?
Yeah.
This Maddox was so ready, and his choices are...
His adoption by Brad Pitt not only strengthened the family legally, but also highlighted the deep bond they all shared. His name, rich with meaning, reflected both his personal story and his cultural roots. At the same time, his experiences traveling the world with his parents helped shape his perspective. giving him a broad and diverse understanding of life from an early age. This open and inclusive way of raising the children helped Maddox Jolie-Pitt and his siblings quickly adjust to the fast-moving lifestyle they grew up with. Traveling often and moving from one place to another became a normal part of their lives from a very early age. Angelina Jolie shared that she felt very proud of how her children were able to handle different environments, cultures, and people across the world. These experiences helped shape them into balanced individuals who could understand and respect others. Maddox, in particular, showed a strong ability to adjust to new situations. He was flexible and open to change, which made the family's frequent and sometimes sudden travel plans much easier for him and his siblings to handle. Trips that were planned at the last minute did not create stress or confusion for them. Instead, they accepted these changes as a normal part of their lives. Jolie explained that this ease might come from the way her children see the world. Rather than thinking of one place as their only home, they have learned to see the whole world as a place where they belong. Because of this wide view of life, the children have been able to appreciate the many differences they see in people and places. They do not let early ideas or fixed opinions shape how they think about others. Instead, they stay open-minded and curious, allowing them to learn from every new place they visit. This way of thinking helps them connect with people more easily, no matter where they are. Jolie once shared a clear example of this when she talked about Maddox's experience in the busy markets of Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. In that setting, many people might focus on differences such as wealth, living conditions, or ethnic backgrounds. However, Maddox did not pay attention to these things. He moved through the crowded streets with ease, without judging or comparing what he saw. What mattered most to him was the simple fact that all people share a common human experience. He focused on the idea that, despite differences in culture or background, people are connected in many ways. However, it showed a level of understanding that went beyond his age and reflected the kind of upbringing he had received. How close is Maddox to Jolie? Do they share that mother-to-son relationship? Let's find out. The bond between Maddox and Jolie. Maddox Jolie-Pitt shares a very close and meaningful relationship with his mother, Angelina Jolie.
From Cambodia to college, Maddox Jolie-Pitt is on his way to a pretty bright future. This is his journey.
Over the years, Jolie has often spoken openly about how special their bond is, and she has described Maddox as more than just her son. She has said that he feels like her best buddy, someone she can talk to, laugh with, and rely on in a way that goes beyond the usual parent and child connection. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Jolie explained that having your children grow into people you can truly be friends with brings a deep sense of happiness and fulfillment to life. This strong connection between them was already clear as far back as 2007, when Maddox was just 6 years old. Even at that young age, Jolie spoke about him with excitement and admiration. She called him her best buddy and described him as the coolest little person she had ever met. These words showed how much she valued not only her role as a mother, but also the unique personality and presence of her son. Their relationship stood out because it was built not only on care and guidance, but also on mutual respect and genuine enjoyment of each other's company. One interesting and playful detail about their relationship is the way Maddox sometimes addressed his mother. While he usually called her Mommy, as most young children do, there were moments when he would jokingly call her Angie. This nickname, which comes from her own name, added a light and fun tone to their interactions. It showed that their relationship allowed room for humor and closeness, where even simple moments of play could strengthen their bond. Another unique part of their relationship was a shared interest that might seem unusual at first. Jolie once revealed that she and Maddox had a tradition of exploring and collecting knives together. This activity was not something random, but rather something meaningful to Jolie personally. She explained that it reminded her of a similar tradition she had with her own mother when she was around 11 or 12 years old. By sharing this experience with Maddox, she was continuing a family tradition that held emotional value. Although the idea of a young child being interested in knives may raise concerns, Jolie made it clear that safety was always her priority. The knives Maddox had were specially prepared with dulled blades, making them safe for handling. This shared interest opened the door for deeper conversations between them. They would talk about topics such as samurai culture, discipline, and the idea of protecting others for the greater good. These discussions allowed Maddox to learn about responsibility, history, and values in a thoughtful and guided way. Their conversations did not stop there. This shared activity became a starting point for exploring many different ideas about life, culture, and personal growth. Jolie used these moments as opportunities to teach, listen, and understand her son better. In this way, their bond was strengthened not only through fun and shared interests, but also through meaningful learning experiences. Maddox's strong connections are not limited to his relationship with his mother. He also shares a deep and lasting bond with his siblings, forming a close-knit family unit that has been an important part of their lives. From a very young age, Maddox showed signs of being a caring and protective older brother. His actions reflected a natural sense of responsibility and love for those around him. During a family visit to Ethiopia with his parents, Maddox expressed a strong connection to Africa. He showed a genuine interest in the people and culture, and he even shared his wish to have a brother or sister from the continent. This moment revealed his empathy and his desire to expand his family in a meaningful way. While visiting an orphanage in Ethiopia with his mother, Maddox noticed a child who needed care and support. His reaction to this experience had a real impact. In that same year, Jolie completed the adoption of Zahara Jolie-Pitt.
Angelina Jolie and her daughter Zahara delivering sweet speeches at the 21-year-old sorority event.
Maddox played an important role in welcoming Zahara into the family, helping her feel accepted and loved from the very beginning. Jolie later spoke about how happy they all were to have Zahara join them, and how much joy she brought into their lives. As the years passed, the relationships between the Jolie-Pitt siblings remained strong. They grew up supporting one another, sharing experiences, and building memories together. Jolie has acknowledged how much her children have influenced each other's lives in positive ways. Their bond is based on understanding, shared experiences, and a sense of unity that has stayed with them as they matured. Though a clear example of this strong family connection could be seen when Maddox left home to begin college. This moment marked a big step in his life, but it also showed how close the family remained despite physical distance. But why did Jolie and Brad go separate ways? Was it on mutual consent? Let's find out. The reason behind Jolie and Brad's divorce. The story of the Jolie-Pitt family changed in a major way after a troubling event that took place during a private flight in 2016. At that time, their eldest son, Maddox Jolie-Pitt, was 14 years old. What happened on that plane became a turning point for the entire family, affecting not only the relationship between the parents, but also the atmosphere within the household. During the flight, there was an argument involving Maddox and his father, Brad Pitt. The disagreement reportedly grew intense, and although the full details have never been completely confirmed in public, it was serious enough to draw attention and concern. Because the situation involved a minor and happened in a confined space with the whole family present, it quickly became a matter of legal and public interest. After the incident, authorities, including the FBI, looked into what had happened. These kinds of investigations are usually very careful and thorough, especially when they involve families and children. In this case, after reviewing the situation, officials concluded that there was not enough evidence to support claims of child abuse. As a result, no charges were filed and the case was officially closed. Even though the legal side of the matter ended without charges, the emotional and personal effects did not simply disappear. For Angelina Jolie, the incident carried a deep emotional weight. It forced her to reflect seriously on her family life and the environment in which her children were being raised. In interviews, including one with The Guardian, She later explained that her decision to end her marriage was not sudden or careless. Instead, it came after a long period of thinking, worry, and inner struggle. She made it clear that leaving the father of her children was one of the hardest choices she had ever faced. Only 5 days after the incident on the plane, Jolie took a major step by filing for divorce. The official reason given in the documents was irreconcilable differences, a common legal term used when a couple believes they can no longer continue their marriage. However, behind that phrase was a much deeper and more complicated situation that had been building over time. The divorce quickly became one of the most talked about celebrity separations, drawing attention from media around the world.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have reached a divorce settlement.
As the legal process continued, more details and claims began to emerge, making the situation even more complex. One of the most serious developments came in the form of a countersuit filed by Jolie in relation to a separate legal dispute involving their shared property, the French winery known as Chateau Miraval. In this countersuit, Jolie made strong allegations about Pitt's behavior during the plane incident. She claimed that he had acted aggressively not only toward her but also toward their children. According to her account, he was accused of choking one of the children and striking another in the face. These claims added another layer of tension to an already difficult situation. While Pitt denied wrongdoing and maintained his position, the disagreement moved beyond just a divorce and into a broader legal battle involving custody, property, and personal accusations. The dispute over Chateau Miraval also became symbolic of the larger conflict between them, as it represented both a shared business venture and a part of their life together that was now being divided. At the center of all these legal and personal struggles were their children. Both Jolie and Pitt repeatedly stated that their main concern was the well-being of their kids. Despite the disagreements and emotional strain, they each expressed a desire to protect the children from further distress and to provide them with stability. This focus on the children helped guide many of their decisions during the legal process. The custody battle that followed was long and highly publicized. It involved discussions about how much time the children would spend with each parent and what kind of arrangements would best support their growth and happiness. Cases like this are rarely simple, especially when they involve multiple children with different needs and personalities. Over time, the court proceedings aimed to find a balance that would allow both parents to remain involved in their children's lives while also ensuring a safe and supportive environment. Even with all the challenges, both Jolie and Pitt made efforts to keep their interactions respectful, at least in public and within the legal system. Maintaining a civil tone in such situations is not easy, especially when strong emotions and serious accusations are involved. However, their attempts to handle matters in an orderly and respectful way showed an understanding of how important it was to avoid making things harder for their children. The entire situation highlights how a single event can deeply affect a family, especially when underlying tensions already exist. What happened on that plane in 2016 did not stand alone. It became part of a larger story involving relationships, responsibilities, and difficult decisions. For Jolie, it marked the moment when she felt she had to take action to change her family's situation. For Pitt, it became a moment that would be closely examined and debated in both legal and public spaces. In the years that followed, the Jolie-Pitt family continued to adjust to their new reality. The separation changed the structure of their family, but both parents remained connected through their shared responsibility to their children. While the legal battles and public attention added pressure, the focus on the children's well-being remained a constant theme throughout the process. How was Maddox's journey into Hollywood? Did he learn from his father? Let's take a closer look. Maddox's early journey into film. Maddox Jolie-Pitt stepped into the world of film production at a very young age. At just 15 years old, he worked as an executive producer on the 2017 Netflix film First They Killed My Father, which was directed by his mother, Angelina Jolie. His younger brother, Maddox Jolie-Pitt, also took part in the project by working as the set photographer. The film was based on a well-known memoir written by Loong Ung, who is a Cambodian human rights activist, writer, and a close friend of Angelina Jolie. It tells a deeply emotional story about a child trying to survive during the Khmer Rouge genocide in Cambodia. By being involved in this film, Maddox had a rare chance to learn more about the history, culture, and strength of the Cambodian people, which is also part of his own background. Maddox took part in the work. He showed strong focus and a practical approach throughout the production. Angelina Jolie spoke highly of him and his dedication. She mentioned that he is very serious about his studies and even said that he is more hardworking than she is. During production meetings, Maddox regularly shared useful ideas, and his notes were often more detailed than hers. This experience showed not only their close bond as mother and son, but also their ability to work well together as a team. Maddox also shared his thoughts about working with his mother. He described her as fun, funny, and easy to work with. His words reflected a positive and comfortable working environment, where both of them could contribute and support each other effectively. Apart from film production, Maddox is known for having many talents. He has traveled to different parts of the world and has achieved a lot at a young age. One of his most impressive abilities is his talent for languages. By the age of 16, he was already fluent in several languages, including French, Russian, and German. This shows his strong interest in learning and his effort to connect with people from different cultures. He also understands Khmer, the language spoken in Cambodia, which shows his deep connection to the country where he spent his early years. His ability to learn and speak multiple languages at such a young age reflects both his intelligence and his determination. These skills can open many doors for him in the future, whether in his personal life or career. Growing up with a mother as accomplished as Angelina Jolie has clearly influenced him, but Maddox has also built his own path with his unique skills and interests. As he continues to grow, it is likely that he will achieve even more. Maddox has always felt a strong and lasting connection to Cambodia. He sees it not just as his birthplace, but as an important part of who he is. He takes pride in his roots and deeply respects the people of Cambodia, who have had a strong influence on his life. He describes Cambodians as calm and easygoing people who can also be energetic and bold when needed. He feels that this quality reflects his own personality, and he proudly says that he is Cambodian. For Maddox, Cambodia is more than just a place on the map. It is a key part of his identity. He sees himself as a Cambodian man, while also being an American citizen and someone who belongs to the wider global community. This combination gives him a broader and more meaningful way of understanding the world. Even before working on First They Killed My Father, Maddox was already familiar with Cambodia. However, being part of the film helped him learn even more about its history and people. Through this experience, he followed the path of those who lived before him, possibly even connecting in a deeper way to his biological parents' past. During the filming process, he also built real friendships with local children. These relationships went beyond the work on set. However, they spent time together, shared experiences, and even had sleepovers, creating bonds that were genuine and lasting. Why did Maddox go back to school? Was he trying to improve his movie skills? Let's find out. Maddox educational drive. In 2019, Maddox Jolie-Pitt began a new stage in his education, and this time it took him to South Korea, where he started studying biochemistry. His move also helped him expand his language abilities, as he added Korean to the list of languages he was learning. He enrolled at Yonsei University, a highly respected school in South Korea that is widely regarded as one of the top 3 universities in the country. When it was time for Maddox to leave for university, his mother, Angelina Jolie, was there with him. She supported him as he settled into this important new phase of life. As she dropped him off at campus, she struggled to hold back tears, showing how emotional the moment was for her. Even though it was difficult, she also felt proud and happy. Knowing her son was growing into adulthood, and starting his own journey. She described the experience as both emotional and meaningful, since it marked a big change in their family life. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Angelina Jolie shared how proud she was of her children as they became more independent. She explained that watching them grow and explore the world gives her a deep sense of joy. She also said that as her children's lives expand, her own world feels like it expands too, because she shares in their experiences and growth. At the same time, she mentioned that having her younger children still at home made the transition a bit easier, as she continued adjusting to each child's different stage in life. However, Maddox's university journey did not continue in a normal way for long. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, life changed across the world, and he had to adjust as well. He decided to pause his on-campus studies at Yonsei University and switched to online learning. After completing one semester, he returned home to be with his family during the global lockdown. So, what do you think about Maddox Jolie-Pitt's stunning transformation? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.